So here to start, I'm starting from one question based on dipole moment. What is dipole moment? Explain. And after that, just uh, about based on dipole moment, we will have a question and then other question. Molecular orbital theory, Shivangi, there are quite a few questions, and what type of questions are asked, those will be included. Okay, those are there today. Yes, Shashwat, correct about dipole moment. Yes. Okay, so dipole moment is specifically a phenomenon in heteronuclear nuclear molecules. Means the elements in the molecules need to be different. So if it is same molecule, for example, same element, for example, Cl2, we will not be talking about dipole moment. If it is H2, no, O2, no. So the two elements should be different. For example, if we talk about HCl, then hydrogen and chlorine both are different molecules, and this type of molecule is known as heteromolecule. The molecules where the same element combines, these are homonuclear molecules. So in heteromolecular molecules, there is difference in electronegativities. So here, for example, hydrogen is electropositive, chlorine is electronegative, due to which polarization arises. So the conditions you can write like this, that first condition is that you need to have heteronuclear molecule. This is why it is there. So first write, I would say rather, difference in electronegativities. Okay, uh, difference in electronegativities in heteronuclear molecules, that leads to dipole moment. Rather, first write that leads to polarization, and this polarization leads to dipole moment. So this is the better way to remember. Difference in electronegativities in heteronuclear molecules causes polarization, which is actually dipole moment. So molecules are said to have the dipole moment if there is polarization. Basically, polarization and dipole moment are interlinked properties. Now, if we represent it in the form of formula, mathematical form, we will say that the product of the charges and the distance between the centers of the elements is equal to the dipole moment represented by mu. So mu dipole moment is charges multiplied by distance between the charges. Distance between the charges is center to center. Unit of dipole moment is debye, represented by d. So as I said, these are interlinked parameters. Dipole moment is the measure of polarity of a bond. Higher the dipole moment, we will say higher will be the polarity. So they are directly proportional. It differentiates the non-polar and polar bonds, as all the non-polar bonds or molecules have dipole moment equal to 0. So if there is any non-polar molecule, for example, Cl2, H2, etc., they will have dipole moment equal to 0. Yeah, it also calculates the ionic character of molecule, but this is slightly tricky. This is slightly tricky. Not always the higher the dipole moment, higher will be the ionic character, not always. Okay? Because sometimes the vector sum of the dipole moments might be zero or might be less. But ionic character is actually the difference in electronegativities. So if it is single bond, for example, HCl, then it's fine. Higher the ionic character, higher will be the dipole moment. But if it is something like NH3 or NF3, we will talk about these molecules. Okay, then not in that proportion, because some vector sums will be cancelled out. For example, in this case, horizontal sums will get cancelled out. Only the vertical factors will be added of the dipole moment. Dipole moment is a vector quantity. So each dipole moment, for example, it is here. So it will have one horizontal component and one vertical component. The resultant will be like this. Hydrogen, nitrogen. So dipole moment direction is always from positive to negative. Direction of dipole moment is always shown from positive to negative. That is, in case of NH bond, the direction of dipole moment will be towards nitrogen. But in case of NF bond, the direction of dipole moment will be towards fluorine, not towards nitrogen, because fluorine is more electronegative as compared to nitrogen. Now, overall dipole moment can be zero, even as I said that in not all cases it will give you the exact ionic character, because here CO bond is ionic. In case of CO2, slightly it is ionic because carbon is electropositive and oxygen is electronegative. So there is some ionic character. Okay, although the covalent character is higher, but there is some ionic character. But because they are just opposite to one another, the right side dipole moment towards right side gets cancelled by the one which is towards left side. So overall dipole moment is zero, although there is individual dipole moment in CO bond. But in case of H2O, H2O is similar to if we say CO2. For example, in CO2 we have one carbon, two oxygen. In hydrogen we have two hydrogen and one oxygen. In both cases we have 1:2 ratio. But H2O molecule has bent shape, and that's why if we take the vector sum of dipole moment obviously, as I said, will be from positive to negative, electropositive to electronegative. Now here the vertical and horizontal components of the dipole moment, horizontal will cancel out and the vertical ones will get added up. Hence there will be overall dipole moment in vertical direction. These two vertical components will get added up. There will be some dipole moment in case of water, no dipole moment in case of carbon dioxide. Next question is basically the same thing which I explained. Although both CO2 and H2O are triatomic molecules means one carbon, three oxygen, there are 1 plus 2, 3 and 2 plus 1, 3 atoms. Okay. The shape of H2 molecule is bent while CO2 is linear. Explain this on the basis of dipole moment. So it is basically the same thing, that CO2 has zero dipole moment. This means that CO2 molecule is linear. So there are two ways. Basically, this is something we are doing vice versa. Here, the question can be that explain why carbon dioxide has zero dipole moment and H2O has some dipole moment. Then this is how you will explain. The second question is basically the usage of dipole moment. It is actually how the dipole moment can be used to find out a specific shape, expected shape. So in this case, if we calculate the dipole moment in CO2 molecule, it comes out to be 0. Now, this is possible only if there are two CO bond will be there. It will be possible only if these two are opposite to one another, that is, they will cancel one another. So vice versa is also sometimes asked, that if CO2 dipole moment is 0, what conclusion you can deduce? So the conclusion we can deduce is that the dipole moment can be 0 when the vector sum of the dipole moments is 0. It means the two CO bonds are opposite to each other and the shape of the CO2 molecule hence is linear. In case of H2O, we will say that as in the question it is given, okay, that H2O molecule is bent. So first we will say that we calculate the dipole moment of H2O, and dipole moment of H2O is not 0. So if it is not 0, it means the two OH bonds are not linearly opposite to one another. It means they are bent. Means like this. So they are not linearly opposite to one another. It means they are at some angle. So they are bent. So this is how you will explain. Normally, nobody is going to ask you what is the dipole moment of water, but if you mention, that's fine. 1.84 divide. Go through the answer again. If there is any confusion, ask. Simple concept. If dipole moment is 0, it means the two CO bonds must be opposite to one another, linearly opposite to one another. Only then the overall resultant dipole moment will be 0. In case of water, because dipole moment is 1.84 dBi or not equal to 0, it means they are not linearly opposite. The two OH bonds are not linearly opposite to one another. They are at an angle. So that's why the shape will be bent. Next, write the significance and application of dipole moment. Now there are few 4 or 5 specific applications which you can memorize if the question appears. In determining the polarity of the bonds. Suppose we have one bond A, B, and if there is a dipole moment which is not 0, we will say that bond is polar. If the dipole moment comes out to be 0, we will say non-polar. So to determine the polarity of the bonds. Second, in calculation of percentage ionic character. So how we calculate the percentage ionic character? That if we have, suppose, one positive charge here plus 1 and 1 minus 1 charge. Means here we have plus 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 coulombs. Here we have 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 coulombs. So these are A and B. And obviously there will be from positive to negative, there will be some dipole moment. And dipole moment, if the distance, we know what is the distance between, for example, this distance is given D, then dipole moment can be calculated as Q1 Q2 upon R square. There is some constant. So there is some formula we already know, that we multiply the charges and divided by square of distance, then we get dipole moment. So if we consider the complete charges means this is one electron charge, one electron positive charge on A, one electron negative charge on B. Then whatever we get as dipole moment is actually the 100% ionic character. So try to understand, there might be some questions what I am saying, because to calculate the percentage ionic character, first you need to know 100% ionic character, and you compare with that, then you can say what is the percentage ionic character of the actual molecule. Suppose this dipole moment, when you are considering it full charge, unit charge, okay, so unit charge, obviously positive, and the negative also full unit charge, then whatever value of mu you get is the, and in this case you just to simplify it, because k you don't know, you just write q into d here, okay, and q 1.6 into 10 power minus 19, whatever you get here is actually 100% ionic character when you are considering unit charge. Suppose this comes out to be, say, 5 dpi, suppose it comes out to be 5 dpi. And in reality, what you get, suppose charges are given and you calculate the charge and you have the distance same, you get mu dash equal to q dash into d. And this mu dash, actual mu dash, the dipole moment, actual dipole moment comes out to be, say, 3 divided. Then you will compare this 3 with 5, because 5 is 100%, 5 represents 100% ionic character, and you will say the percentage ionic character will be 3 upon 5 into 100, that is 60%. It means the molecule will have, or the bond will have 60% ionic character, 40% covalent character. Yes, Shashwat, correct formula. Yes, Sashi, to determine the geometry of the molecule also. Uh, Question about just Arohi, your question. Uh, scroll up just a second. Formula for finding hybridized state. There is no such formula. There are many concepts, floating on internet that we can find it. There is no need for that. In 95% cases, you can find the hybridization very, very easily. I'll show you how. Okay. There are questions, and we will see that. In most of the cases, you will find hybridization very easily. In 5% cases, only you will have to think about it, how it will happen. And those 5% cases are not than 4 or 5. So anyway, those are, you can anyway memorize that as exceptions. Instead of going for finding the formula, and that formula is even more confusing, and students make more mistakes rather using those formulas. Okay. So no need to go for the formulas, just focus on the rules, and rules will help you to find 95% cases. 5% cases only you have to remember. Next, Ashi, okay, fine. Yeah. Not new, it is mu. Okay, mu. Mu is Greek letter here to represent the dipole moment. So dipole moment is represented by mu. Okay, Divya says my voice is breaking. Is that so? Uh, I'll have to switch the network in that case. Divya, it seems my voice is, I know my voice is very good and it is clear also, students say. Okay, good. Right. So now moving forward, first, before we move forward, try to understand the concept, and if there is any confusion, let me know. What I am saying, that how to calculate the percentage ionic character. First, you get the 100% ionic character by considering unit charge, full charge. Okay. And then after that, whatever charge is given in the question, based on that, you calculate the real dipole moment. Then you compare the real dipole moment with the 100% dipole moment. That is 3 here is the actual dipole moment, real dipole moment. You compare it with the 100% dipole moment, that is 5. And that way you get the percentage ionic character. Next is to distinguish between cis and trans form. More about it we will be talking about in organic chemistry, but for now try to understand. Suppose I say alkene, ethene. Ethene structure is like this. So if you see, this is symmetrical. On upper side also, on opposite side also, on down side also, left and right also, everything is symmetrical. So in these type of molecules, there is no cis or trans form. Why? Because I'll tell you what is cis and trans form, then you will understand. Suppose we have molecule like CH3, CH, CH, CH3. Actually, it is butene, but we will talk about it in organic chemistry. This can be written as, on this carbon, we have hydrogen, and this CH3 is also on this carbon only. So it is actually like this. It is actually like this. And we can write it like the structure. So same thing I have written below. The structure I have shown how it can be. Okay. It is same thing. But another possibility is that on left hand side it is same, but on right hand side it can be like this also. The hydrogen is downward, CH3 is upward, the methyl group is upward. And these two possibilities actually exist. How they exist, that is something the Newman projections, staggered form, eclipse form, we will be talking about in organic chemistry. But these two forms exist. The form in which the one species is on the same side. For example, hydrogen and hydrogen, same side. Then this form is termed as cis form. And the one in which the same species is on different side, opposite side, right? That's why this is known as transform. Not single word transform, transform. Now why trans? Because trans, you might have heard trans Yamuna. Trans Yamuna means opposite side of from here. Okay? So if we are on one side of Yamuna, the other side of Yamuna will be called trans Yamuna. So opposite side. So these two forms also. How dipole moment can be helpful here? Dipole moment can be helpful here in case if we have slight difference, then you will be able to understand. Instead of hydrogen, suppose we have chlorine. Now in cis form, If you do the vector sum of the dipole moment, it will be from positive to negative, and vector sums will be like this of chlorine. CCl bond is polar bond. CCH3 bond will not be that much polar because carbon carbon both are electropositive. Okay, they have same electropositivity. So carbon carbon bond will not be that much polar, but CCl bond will be polar. Now horizontal components will get cancelled out, and there will be overall dipole moment upward in this case, cis form. So there will be dipole moment in case of cis form. Now if we consider the transform, in transform the dipole moment will be like this. So horizontal component gets cancelled out, and major part of the vertical component also gets cancelled out because they are in opposite direction. So this molecule becomes almost non-polar molecule. So dipole moment gets, or you say dipole moments get cancelled out. So it means cis form is more polar than trans form. So to find out whether it is cis form or trans form, you can just calculate their dipole moments. And dipole moment will give you an idea about whether which one is cis form and which one is trans form. Now, because they have the same formula, similar properties, they are actually the isomers. So cis and trans forms are two isomers. Isomers are those compounds which have the same formula but different structures. Maybe altogether different compounds also we will see in organic chemistry. So properties will also be different in that case. But cis and trans form accept physical properties, okay? Otherwise, they have similar properties. Other isomers may have altogether different properties. So I'm talking about specifically about cis and trans form. Any confusion, let me know. Shashwat, I hope it is clear how it makes a difference. Because if polarity is there in the molecule, their boiling point will be higher. Due to higher polarity, the molecules in the cis form, they attract one another. Hence, to boil such liquids, higher energy will be required. So cis form normally has higher boiling point than trans form. So their physical properties are different. Next, to distinguish between ortho, meta, and para isomers. In organic chemistry, when we talk about the aryl compound means there are some definitions. I am not going into details. For now, you can consider the compound containing benzene. Okay, very simple term. Otherwise, that is not sufficient definition. So if we have a benzene ring here, so this is benzene. And if I have one OH group, then it is phenol. It is known as phenol. Remember, I am not saying phenyl, okay? It is phenol when OH is there. So OH makes it phenol. So this compound is phenol. Now, when chlorine gets attached, for example, chlorine gets attached here or bromine gets attached, okay? So there are three possibilities where bromine can get attached. This is OH. Bromine can get attached here, here, or here in this case. Why? This is something in 12th standard we will be talking about. Then this position, adjacent position, is known as ortho. Adjacent to OH. It is just adjacent to OH. Similarly, this one is also adjacent. So this is ortho. The opposite one, that is bromine, the bottom one. This position is known as para position. So these are the names given to the positions. Ortho, the adjacent ones, opposite one, para. And rest two are meta position. So this is convention, ortho, meta, para. And by finding the dipole moment, we can find actually whether the compound is ortho, para, or meta. Okay. The para ones due to symmetry have highest boiling point. So if it has highest boiling point, we can say it will be para. Okay. Or if it is like this, if you see OH on this side, bromine on this side, the dipole moments will get cancelled out. Okay, mostly. So we will say para form in this case will not have much dipole moment. So ortho, meta, para all have relationship with dipole moment. How the dipole moment will get cancelled. Now here I have explained all the positions in one ring. Normally it does not happen that bromine can get attached to all these positions, although this is possible that on one ortho, second ortho and para bromine can get attached, but not on all ortho, meta and para. And there are reasons which are beyond the scope at the moment. We will be discussing in organic chemistry or more about it in 12th. So normally what will happen, normally there will be that A is connected here, B is connected here, then it is known as para form. Okay. And para form, depending on what is A, whether A is electronegative or B is electronegative, electropositive, based on that, we can find whether the direction of dipole moment will be in the ring or out of ring. Based on that, we can say what will be the dipole moment. Obviously, no need to go into those details. Nobody is going to ask in 11th standard or in 12th standard. But you should at least know that ortho, based on ortho, meta and para position, the dipole moment will be different. Next, define electronegativity. How does it differ from electron gain enthalpy? And this one is very common question and very confusing question. Students are vastly confused. Okay. Divya, does these forms are possible with benzene only? Yes, Divya. We even in 12th standard we will be referring to benzene ring only. Although at few places we will be talking about other molecules also having multiple benzene rings, or not even benzene type ring. For example, 6 bonds, there can be 5 bonds, 3 bonds, for example furan, and there can be multiple benzene rings, for example naphthalene, etc. But in few cases, but most of the 90-95% discussion will be around benzene compounds. As I said, this question is very much popular amongst your teachers, and also the one where students are vastly confused. Electronegativity, first of all, try to understand, has no absolute value. Electronegativity does not have any absolute value. It is always in comparison to something. Yes, Mehak, correct. Yes, electron gain enthalpy, Shashwat, correct. So electronegativity is just a tendency, you can say. Okay, it's a tendency, uh, measure of the tendency by which an electron pulls the shared electron pair towards itself. If I say I have a bond AB and this is a covalent bond. So electronegativity is covalent bond characteristic. Remember, electron gain enthalpy is ionic bond characteristic. So electronegativity is actually the measure of tendency of an atom to attract shared electron pair towards itself. How much it can pull the electron pair towards itself. So suppose B pulls the electron pair towards itself, it means we will say that B is electronegative as compared to A. Okay. However, B can be electropositive as compared to others. So that's why we are saying that electronegativity does not have an absolute value. The example is, for example, if we consider H2O. In H2O, OH bond. Oxygen is more electronegative, so the direction of dipole moment will be towards oxygen. But in OF2, OF bond, fluorine is more electronegative, so direction of the dipole moment, or you can say the tendency of fluorine to pull the electron pair towards itself will be higher. Hence, in first case, oxygen will be acting as electronegative. In second case, fluorine will be acting as electronegative. So electronegativity is a reference phenomenon. It does not have an absolute value. It is just a measure of the tendency of an atom to attract electron, shared electron pair towards itself. Okay. Yes, Ashi, correct. Correct. One, yes, that is the ability. Correct. So electronegativity of an element is the tendency of its atom to attract the shared pair of electrons towards itself in a covalent bond. So remember, it is covalent bond phenomenon, as I said, and electron gain enthalpy is ionic bond phenomenon, because gaining an electron or losing an electron is actually production of ions, cation or anion. So electronegativity denotes the relative attraction only. So it is a relative phenomenon only of covalently bonded atoms for bonding electron pairs, while electron affinity is the energy released when an electron is added to a gaseous atom or ion to form a gaseous ion. So don't get confused. Electron affinity, okay, is actually the electron gain enthalpy with opposite sign. That's it. Okay. Electron gain enthalpy, normally if suppose chlorine gains an electron, so when it will gain an electron, it will attain noble gas configuration from 17 to 18 argon, and it will release energy because it becomes stable. So electron gain enthalpy will be negative. Why? Because energy is released. Electron affinity is same thing with positive sign. That's it. So electronegativity differs from electron gain enthalpy in the manner that it is applicable to a compound whereas electron gain enthalpy is applicable to isolated gaseous atom. That atom gains an electron. For example, in NaCl, sodium loses an electron, and after that, simultaneously, chlorine gains that electron. But there is no bond, covalent bond between sodium and chlorine. One loses, other gains. So here the phenomenon is at atomic level. In case of covalent bond, it is competition between two atoms, which can pull the electron pair more towards itself. That will be more electronegative. So in simple term, if you want to remember, HCl is an example to explain electronegativity because it has covalent bond. Okay? And chlorine will pull the shared electron pair towards itself, hence chlorine is electronegative. So here chlorine in the molecule is acting as electronegative species. But same chlorine, if we are talking about NaCl, means chlorine in gaseous atom, okay, chlorine gains an electron and gets converted to chloride ion in gaseous form. Here it is electron gain enthalpy. The chlorine atom in its gaseous state gains an electron and releases energy. That released energy is known as electron gain enthalpy, which has some value. So electron gain enthalpy can be measured. It's a measurable quantity. Electronegativity is just a relative quantity. Next question. Explain with the help of suitable example polar covalent bond. Polar covalent bond means simple heteronuclear molecule, okay, heteroatomic molecule, okay, where the molecules have some difference in electronegativity. So the bond formed between atoms having different electronegativities, that is heteroatomic molecule, is called a polar bond. Example, remember always HCl is the simplest example of covalent bond. Others, for example, are CHCl3. In this, CCl bond will be polar. Greater the difference in electronegativities of the atom forming the bond, greater will be the polarity. Okay. But if the difference in electronegativities is too high, then that can lead to ionic bond instead of covalent bond. In that case, the electronegativity phenomenon will disappear. For example, between Na and Cl, the difference in electronegativities is so high that they lose the electron and gain the electron. So there the phenomenon of ionic bond will come into picture. Yes, H2O is a polar covalent bond. Okay. So another example, Arohi is H2O. These all are covalent bond. So OH bond in H2O, for example, okay. BrCl, it exists as a halogen bond. Okay. So bromine and chlorine can form bond because they have some difference in their electronegativities. HF is a compound itself. HCl also a compound. Now next question. Arrange the bonds in order of increasing ionic character in the molecules. LIF. Now What is the increasing ionic character? Means greater the difference in electronegativities. Okay. So greater the difference in electronegativities, for example, if there are two atoms, greater will be the ionic character. As I said, if the difference is too large, for example, NaCl, then it will become ionic bond. So if we compare here all these, N2 doesn't have any difference in electronegativities, both N. So it will have zero dipole moment. It means it will have least ionic character. So N2 will be put first because we have to arrange them in increasing ionic character. So the one which has least ionic character we have placed first. After that, we will see which one has the least ionic character. Means they should be close to one another. Then if you see SO2 and ClF3, so oxygen, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, okay, phosphorus, sulfur, chlorine. So SO2 is a compound between these two, and ClF3 is a compound between these two, fluorine and chlorine. And both have not too much polarity difference, but due to exceptionally small size of fluorine, it is highly electronegative element. So the difference in S and O is not that much as in Cl and F. So that's why, sorry, SO2 will come first and ClF3 will higher. So ClF3 will have higher ionic character as compared to SO2. Now the remaining ones are LiF and K2O. LiF, lithium is on the leftmost and fluorine is on the rightmost. The polarity difference is maximum. So this will have maximum ionic character. It means LiF will be last, and before that we will have K2O. Potassium is towards left and oxygen is towards right, but oxygen is not as electronegative as fluorine. Hence, the difference between potassium and oxygen will be not as high as between lithium and fluorine. So difference, higher the difference in electronegativities, greater will be the ionic character. On that basis, we will place it in this order. So you will just need to remember the position of these elements in periodic table. Farther they are, greater will be the difference in electronegativity. Next, in the skeletal structure of acetic acid, some of the bonds are shown incorrectly. Write the correct Lewis structure for acetic acid. So for this one, we know that hydrogen cannot have double bond, never. So this bond has to be single bond. This is actually CH3COOH. Now this carbon, if we see this carbon here, it means when it is like this carbon and this oxygen, we consider the octet is not complete of this oxygen. To complete the octet, it must have two bonds, that is double bond. So if we have it like this, then it will have correct structure. Now carbon has 4 bonds. Oxygen have 8 electrons complete. So octets and duplets are complete.